Well, I'd like to bid good evening to everybody. Welcome to the Redlands Camera Club winter 2022 digital competition. I'm Carl Detro, competition chair. Our scorekeepers tonight are Bruce Herwig, John Williams, and Russ Trezera. Frank, will you introduce our judges, please?
Indeed, we have a distinguished panel as we always do. And something this particular panel, its members all have in common is that they are retired in their fields. So I will introduce them in alphabetical order. Nancy Gall is retired from heading the photography program at Riverside City College. She is still teaching and still imparting her wisdom gained over many years. We're pleased to have Nancy with us. Casey Newman is in Washington State, having retired from his practice of commercial photography. Casey is living full-time in an RV, spending a lot of time with family, and we're delighted when he can occasionally make it back down to Southern California. Casey is past president and current president of the Inland Empire Professional Photographers and Videographers, and he is a past president of Professional Photographers of California. Our third judge tonight is a fill-in. His face is familiar to most of you. It's Frank Peel, who has been the judge wrangler for the Redlands Camera Club for a long time, and is also a retired commercial photographer, also a retired Navy photographer, and active in Professional Photographers of California and the Inland Empire Professional Photographers. Speaking for myself, looking forward very much to seeing some good images.
Thank you, Frank. Competition categories, just for the interest of those who are watching this for the first time, are people, places, animals, close-up, photojournalism, open miscellaneous, and a special category, which we sometimes call category X, which changes for each competition. The categories are all defined on our website. A little bit about scoring. Our scoring criteria is, as you see on the screen there, everything from exceptional down to below average. You won't see very many in the higher ranges. You'll see quite a few in the average range and the above average range. If your score is below, or excuse me, it's below the above average level, it doesn't mean it's a bad image. It means that although our judges applaud your efforts at producing the work, it may need some more work to stand out amongst the others. So listen to the judges and take their comments to heart. You will do better. Category X for this competition is clouds. The only criteria we had for clouds was that the image had to have a cloud in it, and that all of the elements in the image have to have been made by the entrant. So if they've copied clouds into a picture of something else, they can do that, but it has to be their cloud. We have 3 images that we'd like our judges to take a look at here at each competition, so the judges can take a look at their monitors and make sure everything is up to brightness and sharpness and clarity the way they want it. Judges, how's the first image look?
Looks good.
Yep. Good. Looking good.
Okay, thank you. Second image.
Same.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
And the third image.
That'll work.
Accurate.
Good.
Okay, as is our custom in the Redlands Camera Club, we will make a quick run through of all the images just for you to get an idea of what the entries are.
May I ask a question quickly?
The first entry is from the clouds category, and it's clouds at sunset. Clouds at sunset. And Bruce, when you when you have a score, just call it out, please. Or not Bruce.
78.
78.
You know, lovely saturated colors and lovely balance. I'm not seeing anything that is pushing these beyond, wow, weren't those some beautiful clouds I saw? I'm not seeing any exceptional control, possibly. When I shoot something like this, I'm always looking around for patterns that guide my eye. And in this, we just have 3 strong levels. So it's very, very pleasant, but I think that more could be done with it.
The next image is Tulip Rock. It's in the places category. Here we are, Tulip Rock.
And the category again?
And the category is places.
'83.
83, Casey.
I was at 83 on this. Really nice Milky Way shot. I really enjoy the colors and the depth and deepness of the sky and how that the color palette plays there. I like the foreground. Feels like it could be a tad bit sharper, maybe. It looks a little soft. I know the light on it is obviously night light that's soaked in, so to speak, but it still has a softness to it that I wish wasn't there. And also I wonder if there's might be a little too much foreground, if the image might not work slightly better with some of the greenery cut off at the bottom, because it doesn't add much to the image for me. I like it better with just the rock and just the sky. So 83, which is a merit and nice.
Thank you,
But
Casey.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The next one is in the places category, Scano Fruit Stand. And that's in the places category.
What is the first word in the title, please?
Scano, SCANNO. Apparently a location.
80.
80, scores an 80. Frank.
I scored this an 81, and my eye is immediately drawn to all the colorful fruit. And then I'm free to explore the cobblestones in the street, the stone walls, the age of the buildings, lovely sky. I like the flower pot in the window up near the street lamp. One suggestion to the maker, were I in this spot, I think I would be tempted to get closer to the fruit, and that would not only increase the drama that they present, but it would also reduce the impact of the bright wall of the building directly behind the fruit stand. And you might even be able to go around to your left a little bit and pick up more of the very character-filled stone wall on the far right. 81.
Thank you, Frank. The next image is in the close-up category, Last Supper. Last Supper.
82.
Scores an 82. Nancy,
My score was an 85, and I was leaning down toward 82, but then I kept looking at this wonderful framing effect of the leaf and the lovely exposure of the extended snail head. And despite the fact that I think that this needs to be cropped off the bottom to create more of a rule of thirds effect, because I think the foreground is not adding to the image. And I love the very soft, shallow depth of field in the background. But I think these primary colors, the contrasts, the perfect depth of field to include the entire leaf and all the way back to the shell, and that framing effect of the leaf around that extended neck. I thought it deserved an 85.
I'd like to add a comment, Carl, if I may.
go ahead.
I am really drawn to the translucency in the snail. That's wonderful. I can see sharply see the features on the skin, and the backlight or top light really makes that body translucent and adds a lot of interest to it. What took me down to an 80, however, is all of those bright patches in the upper background. Some of them are in danger of being completely blown out. They don't add a thing. We see the background in the lower third of the image. And as Nancy says, you might take some of that out. But the upper, I would crop real close to the top of the shell, and I would darken that upper background quite a bit because it's very distracting. But boy, do I love the texture that the lighting you've chosen to take advantage of that gives you in the snail.
Well said.
Thank you, Frank. The next image is in the places category, guarding the harbor. Guarding the harbor.
'82.
Scores an 82. Casey, this is yours.
Yeah, I was at 80, 81 for this. Really enjoy the storytelling aspect of the image with a great title that enhances that. So well done to the maker there. For me, it feels a touch hot maybe in the exposure, maybe if it were printed down just a little bit. And then the boat, the ship, I should say, being so right on the top edge of the frame for me feels a little crunched, a little crimped. A little space there might help the score get a little higher. But other than that, a merit and well done.
Thank you, Casey. Next image is in the clouds category, autumn snow.
'80.
Scores an 80, and this was Frank's.
I'm at 79 on this image, and I wanted to go higher. But what I think the maker has done here is, in order to use the category X category of clouds, is it in category X?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was. You've leaned too heavily on those clouds in the upper part of the picture, when in fact the interesting part of your image is the lower center third. You've got some really interesting clouds going on below the mountain peak, thin patches of cloud, but it works. The clouds above really are not contributing to your image, in my view. I would cut this thing in half and make it a very strong panorama, and I believe you'd have a better image. 79.
Thank you, Frank. This is in the animal category, aiming for perfection.
'93.
And I scored this a a 92. Anytime you get into the 90s, we're talking about some very, very lovely work. And this certainly is highly appealing. Just right off the bat, this motion in which our maker has caught the bird, that lovely, beak to the tip of the feather, and the way it draws the viewer's eye all around the bird, back and forth again. And I worry about the highlights, and this may be that we're doing this online, and I would see something more in person. I think just a bit bright in some spots, in the very brightest highlights, but something that could be possibly corrected with just a little bit of editing. But the foggy background, the way that the background allows the bird itself to be everything. And also, how many times do you get the bird turning around so that you see the eye, which is also important. So I just think this is a lovely, lovely photograph. 92.
Thank you, Nancy. Next,
Extraordinary image.
we have another comment.
I was just saying extraordinary image.
Oh, thank you
So
very
well done. I was a 95.
All right, let's see. The next one is supposed to be in the places category, purple skies, clear water. Purple skies, clear water, places.
'84.
84 goes to Casey.
I was right at 84. Really nice image. I love the color palette, the sort of warm purple feel that it has to it. Is like a combination of warmth and purple that is really appealing. The flat mirror reflection is really great. I like the foreground rocks balancing the background. That's a nice touch. The subtle vignette that helps keep the eye in the frame is also well done. I like that. Really nice job by the maker. 84, just under the next category.
Thank you, Casey. The next image is in places, Colorado gold.
'81.
81, Frank.
85 on this image, and I actually wanted to go beyond that. It is a beautiful capture of what is indisputably an amazing scene. I'll bet that was a great experience just to be there and see this. But I'm left with the question of what can I do with this scene to make it rise above what the other 1,043 people that shoot this same thing today are also going to get. And I don't believe the maker has put much thought into that, quite frankly. It is, again, a beautiful, beautiful rendition, but I'll bet you that this same rendition was recorded many times that day by other people. So to this maker and to all makers, I would remind you, keep that question in the back of your mind. How can I make this different, better than what the other 1,000 people who shoot this today will do? 85.
Thank you, Frank. Next image, animal waiting for breakfast. Animal category, waiting for breakfast.
Average score 76.
76. Okay, Nancy, now you got it.
I scored this a 75, largely for the placement of the bird over at the lower right-hand corner, and the diagonal, which helps move the eye through the image a little bit. Unfortunately, this is substantially overexposed throughout the image. And there are a couple of things that draw the eye away from the bird, which is the areas that are properly exposed are pulling the viewer's eye away from the bird. So if our photographer could keep in mind to take a look at what he or she has captured and then go back and do it again, or possibly fall back on the classic standard, which is have the camera shoot 3 photos for every single exposure you make, and it's going to bracket for you and give you some other options. And then, of course, always shoot in RAW so that you have a great deal of flexibility in post-processing. But my score on this was 75.
I'd
Okay.
like to add a comment if I might.
Go ahead.
I'm
Frank.
at 70, I'm at 77 to the maker. This image is more than 50% grass. Is that really your subject? Grass? You can crop this thing considerably and improve it a lot. But Nancy's comments about the exposure are right on.
Next image is in the places category. Swirls.
$82.
Scores an 82. Casey.
I was at 81 for this. It's interesting image, nice composition. I love all the forms and textures and everything that's happening in the image. The color palette is really nice. Nothing in the image screams great image. It's a nice merit image, but I don't think it's going to get much better than that. 81.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Next image in clouds, soaring under the lenticulars. Soaring under lenticulars.
$79.
Scores to 79. Frank.
I'm at 79. I wanted to go higher because I just happen to love lenticular clouds. Anything lens shaped can't be all bad. But in this case, we've got kind of a schism here in that we have part of a cloud on the left and we have part of a cloud on the right. And I think they're fighting each other and nobody's winning. The foreground or the middle ground, the hills are interesting, but not captivating. The blue sky above is a lovely shade of blue, but also not really captivating. I wonder if maybe the right-hand cloud, if you could crop down to that and make an image of this, maybe in a vertical format, but maybe not. Maybe it's best to try again. And I was at 79.
Thank you, Frank. Under clouds, El Dorado pyrocumulus. El Dorado pyrocumulus.
$77.
77. Nancy.
To our photographer, what a lovely capture of a dramatic moment in nature. And what I would like to see improved about this is the clouds up above are drawing the eye away from the truly dramatic action going on in the clouds themselves. And I'm not even sure whether the trees below, which are almost silhouetted against the clouds, serve any purpose either. I would love to do some strategic cropping and really crop a little bit in the left, crop quite a bit down on the top, crop in from the bottom, and have a nice long, narrow, wide piece. And I think it's all about that exciting action that's going on in the clouds. So my score was 78.
Thank you, Nancy. In the places category, illuminate. Illuminate.
$79.
Scores of 79. Casey.
I was at 78 for this. Interesting street scene. I think that there's some elements in it that that don't lend themselves to merit image worthiness. Although I do think that the maker did a really nice job balancing the various light sources in use. The marquee in particular exposed really well. I think that area of interest is stronger than the rest of the image. The car in front of the building is a pretty big distraction. I don't know how effective the parallaxed street scene is. I wonder if maybe a more straight on image might have captured that building a little bit better, been a little bit stronger feeling anyway. So I couldn't quite be merit on it, but 78.
Thank you. Next image in the places category, Mount Whitney. '84, Frank.
I'm at 84, and I really like this image. It's got a majesty to it that is palpable. The tonality of the image bothers me just a little bit. I think the drama in the center could be enhanced by burning it down just a little bit, maybe increasing the contrast, or perhaps just using one of the other sliders in Photoshop to enhance the contrast without actually turning it over contrasty. I suspect this is a difficult spot to get to, and I think the maker has really taken good advantage of the opportunity, and I'm very happy with an 84 here.
Thank you, Frank. Next image in the close-up category, soft blue. Soft blue.
'84.
84.
Challenge.
I have one score at 76, another one at 90, and another one at 88.
And I'm challenging.
Okay.
It would not be an automatic challenge, Russ, because no score is 10 points away from the average.
Oh, okay,
But
I'm sorry.
I want to challenge this image because while I at first saw it as confusing, I wasn't sure whether the orange centers of the flowers were dropped in there or something. And yet when I saw it, I really saw it. This maker has really created a fine piece of art. You could take exception to the out of focus flower center in the near flower, but overall the treatment here, I think, rises above several technical things that could be issues. And I believe this is a piece that the maker should be very proud to hang. And I'm at 88.
Okay.
Like to hear what my esteemed colleagues have to say about it.
It's going to be Nancy, so we'll let her talk here.
Well, my score was 90, and I'm swept away by the creativity of this. I think everything here is intentional, and I think truly the point of focus is in the center of the back flower, which would explain the softness of the forward flower. So I don't think there's anything artificial about that. And I'm quite taken with this beautiful piece. Score of 90.
Well, I guess that leaves Casey.
Yeah, I'm clearly going to be the very bad guy on this. I was at 76. Well, suffice it to say that I was not as taken as my fellow judges by the artistic aspect of the image, and was more affected by well, I want to try and be as kind to the maker as I can while also accurately reflecting why I didn't give it a high score. For me, it appears there's only one small slice of the image that's actually in focus, and it's probably comprises less than 10% of the image. And I get that the title is soft blue, but that feels like a problem to me. There are a lot, the pastel color palette is lovely, and the title is well constructed to enhance the feeling that the maker wants to give. But just photographically, on the surface, it's a very out of focus image with one small little area of sharpness that has been given a nice artistic rendering. And yes, in some ways that's really attractive. It's pretty, but I initially I could not be higher. I did not see that as a high score. In deference to my judges, I'm happy to my fellow judges. I'm happy to come up on my score. I still feel that for me, it's not in the higher categories for me. I struggle with that. So let me stop there before I keep going on trying to make the same points. But if there's a rebuttal, I'd like to hear that.
And
Well,
without beating to death, may I respond quickly to Casey?
Yeah.
Casey, normally I'm absolutely with you. This is exactly the kind of thing I've told my students over the years. Okay, now you have to decide where your point of focus is, and you have to decide when you need deeper depth of field. But I'm afraid in this case, I was so swept up by all the other effects, the beautiful colors, the diagonal movement through the image, all of the things that we're admiring about this. And the bottom line is, I would very comfortably hang this up on my wall and see it every day. So I'm afraid that's the reason I went so high on this.
Yeah, and just I'm not sure that I would. So
Okay.
that's why we have multiple judges.
Right.
In
Frank,
rebuttal,
there you go.
I see this image as a purposeful pursuit by the maker to rise above the limits of photography and to create a piece of fine art. I believe that everything we're looking at was done by the maker on purpose. I believe the maker specifically chose to use very narrow depth of field, and it's had a wonderful effect on the background, which enhances the image without distracting in any way. The placement of the subjects, the absolutely beautiful softness of the color, all of this, I believe, was no accident. I believe this was a very skillful maker using the art and craft available to produce a stunning image. And I look forward to seeing the score go up. Again, I was at 88, and I think I may have been low.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Judges, please rescore. Just submit a new number.
'88.
Thank you, judges.
Thank you very much. That was a very good challenge. The next image is Gooseberry Falls. It's in the places category. Gooseberry Falls.
'81.
81, Casey.
I was right at 81. Sorry, I was doing some math in my head there for a second. Well done image. I really enjoyed the composition. The silky water effect is handled really, really well. I like that. Well done. An easy merit. I think that the cropping on this was really helpful. Not a lot of extraneous stuff to get in the way of the visuals. The crop at the top, I think, is well handled, keeping a lot of busyness out, and on the bottom as well. It lets your eye focus right on all of that really pretty silky water stuff that's happening right there. Really, really nice.
Question for the scorekeeper. I believe the math, I believe the
boo-boo.
math works out to 80 here, not 81.
Correct. I re-added them and I noticed I was just gonna mention that.
Yeah, that was the math I was doing in my head.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
take a
that
break.
the score is an 80. Next
Yes,
image,
an average of 80, correct.
next image is yellow warbler looking at me. Yellow warbler looking at me. Scores an 84. Frank.
I was at 83 on this, and I was higher on my first initial reaction. This has a lot of visual impact, but in one respect, it has too much visual impact, and that is the brilliant blue foreground, middle ground, background is, while it's a wonderful contrast to the tones in the bird, it's distracting. The bird itself is rendered wonderfully. I love the color. I love the sharpness, the detail. The reflection is magic. To the maker, I would suggest this, that if you would go in and select the bird and the bird's reflection, and then invert your selection and try some things with everything that's left. Try a little desaturation, try a little darkening, put a vignette on it. I think you might very well add 3 or 4 points to your score on this beautiful image. And I loved seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Next image is Indian elder. Indian elder.
'81.
81, Nancy.
My score is 82. And I very much like the cropping on this, and of course, capturing the character of this individual so well. Very, very nice. The real problem here is the brilliant white hanging down, dragging the viewer's eye away from the face, and also the overexposure of light. Wish we could have caught this person looking completely into the shadow, because the way this is working, I'm looking at the cheek before I look at what I want to look at, which is the eyes. And also, it just so happens there's that little bit of extra light on the right-hand eye, which makes it look like there's something wrong with the eye. You have to look close to realize that it's just a slightly open eye, but it looks like, there's maybe a physical failing in the eye and that it's drooping, and I don't believe it is. So I think lighting could be improved on this, but this dramatic crop and this capturing of the character of the individual is extremely well done.
May I make a quick comment? In response to Nancy, I'm an 82 also. I love the character that is revealed by the direct sunlight on that cheek and the nose and the chin. I just love those character lines. I think they had so much. The white leather thong or whatever that is hanging down is definitely distracting. But then I went to that ancient Navajo symbol of the globe and anchor in the center of his cap. And I at first wanted to chuckle, and then I thought, this may have been a Navajo code talker in the war. In any case, I feel certain he's entitled to that Marine Corps emblem. And I just love the revealing of character that's all over this image. Congratulations to the maker.
Thank
And if I may add to Frank's comment, I've been holding my hand up here and doing the usual trying to crop on the screen. And I find that when I remove that white piece, it's substantially better. So I would
Yes,
even
indeed,
crop
it is.
I'd crop it even more.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, thank you. The next one is in the clouds category, Arizona sunset. Arizona sunset.
$82.
82. Casey,
Okay. I was at 83 on this. Really pretty image. I absolutely love the composition where you have the little sliver of foreground at the bottom, the sunset reflection mirror thing, the middle ground there, the middle of the image, and then the really glorious sunset behind that. That whole on off composition thing is really nice. I'm not sure what I would do to improve the image, although I wonder if a little touch of contrast in the middle might help a little bit. It's a little touch flat maybe in that middle ground, but easy above average image and well deserved.
thank you, Casey. The next one, by the way, we've been at this for about an hour. I had originally worked a break in if anybody wanted one. Do any of the judges need a break?
No,
Or-
thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm okay.
Okay, we will continue on then with the clouds category, clouds and palm trees, clouds and palm trees.
$76.
76. Frank,
This was in the clouds category, is that correct?
that is correct.
Okay, I'm at 74, and to the maker, if you want to improve this image by about 5 points with one click, cut off the top half of the image. It's doing nothing for you. Maybe you were seduced by the cloud category, but the clouds that are worth having are the ones that are in the lower half of the image. The clouds above that lower half add nothing. They distract. The contrast between the puffy clouds and the palm trees is nice. It's got some visual interest. And I believe that if you were to just lop off the upper half, you would improve this remarkably. 74.
Thank you, Frank. All right, pressing on in the animal category, Mom and the Kids. Mom and the Kids.
$80.
80. Nancy,
That's with everyone. My score was 80. And I'm wishing once again that the faces of the animals were all in a common light. But I love the family relationship. I love the balance of the three. A nice little reflection in the water. I'm looking to see whether we even need that background or not. Maybe cropping all the way down to just showing the edge of the river so that it tells you that they're in a river. I think it is a very nice piece, but could use a little cropping, use a little, it's very pleasant. I'm sorry that I'm failing you on this one. Usually I'm a little more articulate than this. I am enjoying the patterns in the water and the overall lighting, but the contrast between the shadow and the highlights is a little tough. So I'm going to leave it at that and let someone else possibly be more articulate than I'm being right now.
okay, thank you.
If I could, I'm sorry, if I could add an extra comment. I think that Nancy's dead right with the background. My critique was going to be, I don't think you need any of that. The image is really the three faces, but you have to include the body to to have a really nice composition, but you don't need any of that background. It'd be a really strong image, and I would have given it more than an 80 without any of that background. So
Amen.
Thank you. The next image is in the animal category. Tantrum. Tantrum.
Oh, 78.
78. Casey.
okay, I was at 77. Couple of things going on here. One, I love the black and white. The tonality of it is really nice, pleasing. The textures and the play of textures is nice. The problem for me was the part of the image that's sharp, which is I'm going to say mom because I don't know. It could be a dad, I guess. The is sharp, but the head is right at the top of the frame, which it's killing me. And then the baby or the child, smaller one, monkey, is out of focus, like way out of focus, and that's not. Yeah, that's killing me. I wish it wasn't that way. I would love the image if we could see a little bit more. The head wasn't right at the top, and there was sharpness in the other one. So I couldn't get to above average on this one.
Casey, I agree with your comments. I do think the monkey, the baby monkey, may be, I think that's motion blur rather than a lack of focus, but it's the same effect. It certainly,
Yeah,
certainly is a problem.
yeah,
I was at
absolutely.
78 also.
It could easily be motion at the exact wrong time, but it still acts as the same
Yeah.
function.
Thank you, Casey. Next image in the places category. Escape. Escape.
$77.
77. Frank.
I'm at 78 with this image. My eye is drawn to the image, but then it just darts around everywhere. It's an interesting pattern study, but there are so many patterns going in so many different directions that my eye doesn't find anything to take delight in. It's just continuously being distracted by the elements of the image. For example, the sun shining directly on the handrail on the far right, that's a very powerful pull to get my eye out of the image. The upper rail on the far left does the same thing. The wrought iron pickets down in the lower left do the same thing. The foliage in the upper left do the same thing. I wish I could suggest to the maker a crop that would make this whole, but I frankly don't see a crop that would do it. Maybe if you crop so severely that the remaining element is the play of light and shadow on the steps, you might have an image. But I'm at 78 and can't go above that.
Thank you, Frank. Next image in the people category. Muhammad, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, Aman, Ayman, Muhammad and Aman.
$79.
Scores of 79. Nancy.
My score is 79. And Sorry about that. I was just checking. This is a lovely take home and show to all of your friends from your trip shot. I'm not seeing anything unique about it. This is, I hate to use the word snapshot, but it has all of the aspects of the snapshot. Now, on the good side, unlike most people, this maker did put the heads up above the center of the frame, and that was very important because most amateur photographers, of course, will put the heads in the center and have too much up above. So it's a really nice crop. It's a nice balance between the two. It's a nice, memorable shot, but I'm not seeing anything exceptional going on to grab the viewer's attention. So my score was 79.
Thank you, Nancy. Next image is in the open miscellaneous category. Blown color. Blown color.
'81.
Scores an 81. Casey.
I was right at 81. Very interesting image. I enjoyed this image quite a bit. I'm curious about the saturation because it feels almost oversaturated, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's just that much color in these objects. So giving the benefit of the doubt to the maker, I'm going to say that's what it looked like. This is very, very poppy, very eye-popping as far as color and texture and all the combinations in there in ways that work. In this particular image, I think that the crop at the top that's right off the edge of the subject matter works because it keeps you in the frame, and because the object right there is red, it's not in danger of feeling like it's almost out. It's so in your face, the color is so in your face that it's right there, and it lets your eye flow all throughout the rest of the image. The diagonal composition helps that. The eye just goes in and back and in and back, and even that little blown glass thing that's right in the corner, just a portion of it captured in the corner, helps keep the eye in the frame. It is well done, very well composed, colorful, very impactful. I think an easy above average image.
Okay, the next image, thank you, Casey, is Orchid Duo. Orchid Duo.
'84.
84. Let's see here, we've got Frank.
I'm at 80 on this, and I'm cogitating about that. I may have more to say about that in a moment, but it's a beautifully designed image. The the maker has, I think, taken really good advantage of these two blossoms, and the presentation also shows a lot of thought and care. I do have one suggestion. There is a gradation on the on the mat itself, from light lower left to darker upper right. A suggestion for the maker: try. You've got the mat unevenly divided, and that's fine. You might try reversing the grad, making the lower left darker and the upper right lighter, because in the way you have it now, you've got brightness and size of the mat working to pull my eye away from the subject. And I think that simple change, just reversing the gradation of the mat, might fix that entirely. And I'm going to challenge this image, and I'm really challenging my own score here. I'm hoping that my colleagues will show me the error of my ways and help me realize that I can bring my score up. So I am challenging. Again, I'm at 80 and I'm listening.
Okay, Frank, Nancy or Casey?
Who,
Go
well,
ahead.
I'll go next if you'd like.
Please do.
I am at 89, and I was going to challenge if Frank didn't, so I'm glad that he challenged. First, let me the superlatives. I think this is a lovely, lovely image. I think that the things that the positives that Frank mentioned are all that and more. I think that the color in this is just spectacular. I love the delicacy and the careful, artful composition. The repeated pattern of the leaves falling is just so, ooh, just yeah, just like in goosebumps. It's just really nice. How they both kind of the two blossoms mirror each other. The thing that held me back from going further, the two little trouble areas, which I certainly see why some might not see it as a 89 or in that neighborhood, are the whites feel a little hot to me, just a little in a couple of areas, and the stem as it goes down towards out of the frame is soft, and I wish that it wasn't. So I see those as reasons to keep it from the top categories, but maybe not a reason to keep it from the excellent category. For me, this is an excellent image, and that's where I'm at.
Okay, Nancy?
I'm going to mention just one other little thing. Now, Casey mentioned that the stem in the background has fallen out of the plane of focus and it's a little soft. And since everything else is pretty darn sharp, yeah, that is a little bit of a problem. But I don't know what to call the cup at the bottom of the orchid on the right-hand side orchid. I think that is also just slightly falling out of that plane of focus. And I'm wondering if just a little touch up on the cup down there, maybe with a tiny bit of contrast, we're just talking about, a little adjustment would create the contrast that would make it look more like it is completely within the same focal plane as the other flower. That would be it.
Okay, Frank, a rebuttal?
In rebuttal, I thank my learned colleagues for your wisdom, and I am going to bring my score up by 3 points. And to the maker, you've gotten some really good suggestions here. I hope you'll work on this and that you'll realize the full potential that you have so carefully crafted here. Rescore, please.
Okay, judges, rescore, please.
'86.
Oh,
Good challenge, Frank.
good challenge.
86. Thank you. Next image is in the animal category. Horned puffin. Horned puffins.
'86.
More than 86. Nancy?
I'm laughing at myself because I'm going 85. No, 86. No, let me look at this other part, 87. And I ended up at 88 just because every time I looked at this, I appreciated something else about it. So the things that I really love, the sweep, the diagonal sweep is so marvelous. And I know what I'm supposed to look at. The highlights on the puffins are not overexposed and they're beautifully contoured. And we've got great detail on every bird. If I was going to make a suggestion in this image, it would be to add a little shadow to the lower right-hand corner in a diagonal. Just drag in a little darkness there because that pushes everything toward the puffins themselves. And I truly appreciated the overall look. And I must admit, I'm affected by this too. because I have done some puffin photography, and I really appreciate how challenging it can be and how happy you are when it comes out so well. So congratulations to the maker and 88.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, in the clouds category, threatening. Threatening.
$76.
76. I'm gonna get my notes here.
I think it's me. You want me to go?
Go ahead.
I was at 75 for this, mostly due to the nature of this photograph is let's see how to say this. If this weren't in the clouds category, I'm not sure I would be able to identify what the subject matter is.
This is clouds, yes.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's only identifiable as clouds because that's the category that it's in. If I looked at this outside that bit of information, I'm not sure I would be able to tell what it is, and so that it doesn't have a discernible subject or point of interest or ability to figure out what it is. And that aside, it's also quite a bit flat. The black and white treatment is very, very flat. A little contrast, a little punchiness might help. It just appears like a very soft, fragmented abstract as it appears this way. So I couldn't get to an above average or average score on that.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Next image is in the places category. Sunset on the rocks. Sunset on the rocks.
$82.
82, Frank.
I'm at 80 on this image, and it's got some really nice qualities. It's clear to me that the maker went to great effort to get to this vantage point and probably had some selecting to do among several potential vantage points, and this was certainly a good one. We've got pools on the rock on the right. We've got that wonderful fog effect that is probably the result of time exposure. However, I don't think this is sunset. I think this is well before sunset. And I just find myself wondering how much better it might have been with a little more drama going on in the sky. For those reasons, I'm at 80.
Okay, thank you, Frank. In the open miscellaneous category, the survivors. The survivors.
$89.
I'll challenge.
89 with a challenge. Casey?
I'm challenging because it got an 89 and I was at an 88 and it should have gotten a 90. So I'm challenging up my own score.
Okay.
I'm at 88 and I should have been 80 at a 90 or higher. So I think everybody already recognizes it's an exquisite image. I'm not sure we need to go through a formal challenge process. I'm going to bump my score up to 90, like without even a thought. So that's where I'm at.
I do have one comment I'd like to make. Yes, it is an exquisite image. To the maker, I would suggest two things to think about. One is these appear to have survived the fire, but long-term, are they really survivors? You might give your title some thought. And the other thing is, I would, if this were my image, I would crop off about a third of that dark space to the left of the main tree. You've got an asymmetrical balance working for you here with those two younger trees and the main subject tree. And I think that if you were to get away from this centered treatment of the main tree, I'd go up 2 or 3 points just on that thing alone. But yes, this is an exquisite image, Casey. Well said.
Nancy, it was yours for review. You have a comment?
And I also gave it a 90. And I think the word exquisite is perfect for this. Sorry to be repetitive. And I want to say to the maker, what an emotional piece, what a storytelling piece. And I really thank you for that. And that would be it.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Any rebuttal, Casey?
No, none needed.
Okay, judges, please rescore.
$90.
Righteous challenge, Casey.
Yeah, that image deserved that category.
The next image, excuse me, in the animal category, looking glass. Looking glass.
$88.
88. Casey,
Oh, really? Okay. I was at 86 on this. There is a lot to love about this image. Perfect photographer presence at just the right moment. You got a great pose, wonderful mirror reflection on the water. The color palette is soft and nice. Everything's sharp and crisp the way you want it to be. My issue, why I wasn't quite as high as my fellow judges were, are the whites feel really hot. It could just be me. It could be a thing, and that for me felt like a problem, a sizable problem, kind of. And I honestly really do not like the shrubbery in the lower right corner. I would have spent however many Photoshop hours it would have taken to remove that and have it just be bird and reflection. I think that would be fantastic. I would be much higher in my score if that were the case. Also, just for me, my own personal preference for me, if this image had a really nice presentation, it's gonna pop so much better and score better. You get extra points for that. Normally judges don't take off points, but if it has a presentation, they'll add points, especially if it's a great presentation. So it's just something to keep in mind as you go through the Photoshop process with these images. This is really nice. Easily in this category, deserves it.
May I ask,
Casey's points are really well taken. I especially echo his comment about a presentation would help this. The head of the bird is blown out on my monitor, and I think that just darkening the whole thing down would probably solve that. But also to the maker, this is off of vertical. Now, you might say, how can you tell if there's no horizon? Well, if you take a straight line and run it vertically through the tip of the bird's beak, it should also run through the tip of the reflection of the bird's beak, and it's way off. So that's something you can straighten out in Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever you use, and that will help. Not everybody's eye is as sensitive to that as mine is. It's kind of gotten to be a pet peeve with me, but yeah, Casey's remarks are right on. I was at 89, I believe, and except for those things, I would have wanted to go up into the 90s. Exceptional capture.
thank you, Frank. I think I heard Nancy wanting to say something.
you did. Both of my fellow judges have said a better presentation would have given it more points. And yet I'm a little bit torn, and I have been many, many times in my experience, about people being given extra points for graphic design capability. And that's what I'm concerned about encouraging. I'd love to see perfection in the photo first. And then if you can do that additional presentation, fabulous. But I would hate to see us scoring down because of that kind of thing.
Frank likes to say a 5-cent photograph and a $10 frame.
This is not a 5-cent photograph, however.
Yes. The next image is in the open miscellaneous category, Day's End. Day's End.
'89.
89. Frank,
I'm at 91 with this image, and while this may have been taken last weekend, it may be a very contemporary capture. It has a wonderful antique feel to it, and that's to the credit of the maker, the treatment that he or she has chosen to use, starting with the border. That's an interesting border. It fits this image perfectly. The black and white treatment, the reinforcement of the sharpness without over sharpening at all. The choice of what to include. There's nothing in this image that I see that's especially modern. It all evokes a time past. It creates an emotional reaction in this viewer, at least, and I think it's richly deserving of going into the 90s category.
thank you, Frank. Next image in the places category, Standing Tall. Standing Tall. '78, Nancy.
There's a lovely balance in this. I like that the maker took what could have been a rather average, not too motivating photograph and gave it drama and power by including the entire cliff and a bit of the water and the rock in the foreground, with everything being equally sharp. So I think it does give that majesty to it. However, I think a different time of the day, possibly, I don't know what direction we're facing here, but maybe sunset would add colors to the rocks that would make it more interesting. And I would like to see some lighting or some cloud effect that would really add to this. But overall, a very nice majesty photo. So, and I gave it a 78.
Thank you, Nancy. In the animal category, When Patience Pays Off. When Patience Pays Off.
'82.
Scores an 82. Casey.
I was at 82 for this. Boy, there's a lot to like about this. I really love the off-center composition. Great moment of pose for the bird. That was really nice. Good patience by the photographer. The presentation is very lovely. My issue why I couldn't go a little bit higher or a lot higher is that while I can see a lot of critical sharpness in the stump or whatever the bird is sitting on and the bird's legs and through most of the bird's body, I'm not seeing that in the beak and eyes and the head. And that just, I want to see that there. It's got to see some crisp, clean, sharp lines there. So for that reason, I couldn't go a little higher, but easily an above average image. Very, very nicely done.
Thank you, Casey. Next image in the close-up category, Vintage All. Vintage All.
77.
77, Frank.
I'm at 77 on this image, and I that that tool is absolutely magnificent. I love the carved handle, but this isn't a picture about an awl, it's a picture about a window. And that's mostly what we see. Gosh, if only the maker could have isolated that beautifully done tool, maybe by going inside, I don't know. But anyway, the image is much more about antique window muntins than it is about the awl. And that's a shame. And I was 77.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Next image, masked berry bandit. Masked berry bandit. There he is.
'86.
86, Nancy.
Lovely colors working together. That beautiful shallow depth of field. Almost too much because we're losing some of the leaves that are supporting this beautiful bird. But the bird itself, I kept looking more and more closely to the bird and trying to decide if it was completely sharp. And I've come to the conclusion that I think it is. And despite the fact that the bird's face is so darkly masked, I have the glints in there and the catchlight in the eye that show me the eye, which I think is so very, very important. So overall, I think this is absolutely beautifully done. If I was looking for some improvements that could be made the next time around, I would have chosen a slightly deeper depth of field so that more of the leaves were not. I find the leaves that are not in focus distracting. So that's it. And my score was I was an 86.
Thank you, Nancy. Photojournalism category. Safe at home. Safe at home.
'83.
83, Casey at the bat.
I was right at 80 for this. Really good photojournalistic capture, peak moment. That's what you're aiming for. I kind of wish I could see at least one face here. I know you're clearly not going to see the runner face, but if the photographer had changed angles slightly, you might be able to get a look at the expression on the catcher's face. That would have been a joyous little moment to be able to see his reaction. But I like the dust popping off the glove and dusting up from the slide. I think that those are good touches, and I think it deserves to be in the 80 category.
Thank you, Casey. Our final image of the evening is in the animal category. Lunch break. Lunch break.
'86.
86, Frank, you get the honors.
I'm at 85. What a wonderful capture. This is a very storytelling image. To the maker, I would offer one suggestion, and that is crop a little bit tighter, because this bear is not interested in a salad right now. It's going after salmon, and all that greenery around it doesn't add a whole lot. So I would crop in almost to the bear on the right, almost to the bear on the top, and I'd probably crop off about a third of that dead space on the left ahead of the bear, leave the bear room to travel. Might also crop some off the bottom, but there's so much going on in the bear and the water. And congratulations to the maker for choosing a shutter speed that really shows the impact of the bear on the water. And I think with a careful crop, this might go up to a 90.
Agreed.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, all the judges. Thanks to all of you.